Good afternoon, welcome back to another video with a guy and his projects. Today we are working on the recently engine replaced 2004 Ford F-150 Triton 4x4. It's got the 3-valve updated body style right when they transitioned. And we are doing the front springs or coils or shocks today. Any combination of the above you'd like. So all of y'all know, if you watch my videos for a while, that I love Bilstein shocks. This is not a sponsored video. I pay a lot of money for Bilstein shocks, and I continue to pay out of pocket a lot of money for Bilstein shocks because I like them. So today we are putting on some Bilstein front shocks. Now, here's a little confusing thing. I'm doing it differently. So a while ago, if you guys remember, I got a package deal with an entire front end rebuild kit for this truck. I spent $120 and I got front coilovers, lower control arms, upper control arms, tie rods, inners and outers, and pretty much CV joints, an entire front end build kit. Now, most of the parts are on the cheaper side of what I like to do, including these coilovers. So originally, I was just going to take these, throw them in, and call it a day. However, I have not had much luck. I don't even know what brand these are. I think they're Monroe shocks. It's a quick strut. But I think the shock itself is a Monroe. I have not been overly happy with Monroes in the past, so we are going to go with Bilstein. Now, in order to replace just the shock and not do the quick strut, you have to be able to compress some springs and remove springs, okay? So I do not believe that this is from the passenger side. I just did it so I can get all the tools ready for the video. This is what came out of the passenger side and it's on the driver's side. You can see there's definitely a difference between the springs. I do not know if these are OEM springs or if they are previously replaced. I know the shock itself is a SOX, S-A-C-H-S or whatever it is. Because I can make out the part number on it. The springs I have no idea, and I'd like to use OEM springs. However, my spring compressor won't get in there on those tight little coils. So, super complicated, I know. I'm taking the brand new Bilstein shocks, and I'm going to utilize all the parts from this guy except the shock. I'm going to take the spring, the top hat, and well, that's actually about it. And I'm going to put the spring and the top hat on the Bilstein shock. Worked just fine on the passenger side. We're going to do it on the driver's side now. Wow, that was kind of long-winded and a weird explanation, but I have a spring compressor. This is the first time I bought it. This was like $200, which if you've replaced your quick struts before, to buy a quick strut, you're spending about $200 per side, so $400 to get just the springs. Okay, now these are Bilstein, but in the future, if you just want to get shocks, I said springs, shocks, it is way cheaper if you can reuse your springs, which typically, when it comes to coils, last a lot longer than the shocks, in my experience. So, I bought this $200 thing, and it works. It's not the best. There's $1,000 ones out there that would work way better. This one I struggled with a little bit. Actually, I already broke one of the handles off. So yeah, there's that. It's not an expensive one. It's a cheap one. But it worked on the passenger side, should work on the driver's side, and it's going to let us do it all. And then in the future, because I have it, I should be able to just buy shocks on all of my equipment and save some money because I can compress my struts, my springs. Now, they do make the clamp-on ones. I have those. I hate them. They're sketchy, they suck, and it's a lot of work. This was actually pretty easy, minus the fact that it broke. So that's what we're doing. So we're going to do the driver's side. I already grabbed all my tools. This is more than you probably need. I had one issue on the passenger side where the assembly with the Bilstein was just a little bit taller, a little bit taller than what was in there before the SOX. And I had to pull the upper control arm and the tie rod off on the other side in order to get it to slide in and do all that. But ultimately, I'm not going to go over tools because we're already a long way into this intro and everybody hates how much I talk. So we're just gonna lift the truck and get started. All right, that's solid. All right, so it's probably too dark to see on this side, but you can see. Hopefully. We got the Bilstein shock with the whatever brand this spring is. It is, I think, just a shimmy of a hair taller. Maybe that's because the spring's not worn out because it's brand new, or maybe, I don't know, but we may have to get in alignment. We'll see. First things first, we're going to pull the tire off. Tire off. Alright, so for reference, you guys are sitting on the front bumper right now, inside of course. So on the passenger side, I tried to do it with just taking the tie rod off so I could pull this down and slide out. However, I ended up having to take, I can get you guys up there, the upper control arm off in order to get some more whoop, in order to let the lower control arm droop enough to get everything in, because the new one seems a little bit less, a little longer, just a hair bit, probably because spring ain't worn out, I don't know. So I think I want to try and do just the upper control arm and not the tie rod on this side, because you know, that's one less bolt, one less headache. So for me, I have a weird ass TTX upper control arm because that's what the previous owner put on. Nothing wrong about it. I actually really like these things. You might just have a normal everyday cotter pin. If you do, you just pull out your cotter pin on your castle nut. You might have a nylon lock wash style. Whatever you have that is retaining and keeping this nut from moving, you gotta pull it off. So I'm gonna try and do this without blocking your view as usual, and as usual it's probably gonna be a pain in the butt. There it is. There it is. My castle nut right here is a 21 millimeter, so I'm gonna use that to a 21 millimeter to break that loose. There we go. Like I said, we may have to take the tie rod off. I don't know yet. Even if we do, it's not a big deal. All right, so now we're gonna just kind of jam on this flat spot on the knuckle here real quick and try and break this loose. And just like so. Oh. And that'll go up, that'll come out. Now the goal is to be able to lift that up out. Yeah, we're just gonna take tie rod off. It's just gonna be easier. I don't know why I'm fighting it. Again, you may not need to. I'm just going to. So, again, 21 millimeter. Flat spot, a little hammering. And after you do that a few times, if you have to, go from above. That off, just like so. Alright, so now I'm going to take my 15 millimeter swivel ratchet wrench. You don't need anything that fancy, but it's what I got. And we're going to go up here, and you have 3 top hat bolts. You do not want to do this one in the center. We'll do that in a little bit. But you're going to do this one, and then there's one behind that one in the center you're going to get off. I'm just going to pull all 3 of them off. They might be up there a little good. Been sitting there for a minute, might be a little crusty. I want to get the back one and this one. And then you guys might even be able to see that back one. I cannot. Ooh, plastic sharp. Looks like it's under a vacuum line, so you're going to have to... Oh, I can't do that one-handed. Fender liner's in the way. Yes, I know there's people that can do it one-handed. I just don't care. Good for your nieces and nephews and whoever else is working one-handed. I am working two-handed. Where are you at? Where'd you go? Well, I can't get under the vacuum line, so I'm going over it. Maybe. Fender liner is a little in the way. Alright, we might get a little ratchet for that one. So now I was able to get a ratchet on the back one. For the swivel head ratchet anyway. Alright, so now I've got a 1 1/16 socket for the bolt down here, the lower mount. And then I just got a crescent wrench to try and hold the nut on this side. And we're just going to zing her out, hopefully. Oops. now I'm using the CV axle. I'm using the CV axle as a lever to keep the nut against the mount, which will force the bolt to back out so you don't have to play with it later. Like so. So then there's the big nut. And here's the big bolt. So at this point, we should be able to just pull this out. She's a little locked in there, so go ahead and grab a little pry bar here. And try and just work her loose. There we go. And that'll come out. Okay, so now if you were to put this quick strut back in, you would literally just pick it up and put it in reverse order. You might not even have to take the upper control arm off. However, we're going to disassemble this, put the Bilstein in there. Yes, I could have done that before I even pulled this out. But for coherency with you guys, if you're just doing a quick strut, we're trying to do this in semi-order. So I'm going to disassemble this and assemble that. Alright, so as far as this monstrosity goes, I'll try to stay out of your guys' way so you can see what I'm doing. That said, I really don't know what I'm doing, so don't count on seeing too awfully much. But we are going to put this in here. Get this to clamp in. It's a little awkward. I'm still trying to figure out exactly how you're supposed to use it. So now I'm going to drop this down a little bit. Okay. So we can clamp that guy. Nope. You want to clamp as much of the spring as you can. But this is also kind of awkward. Speaking of awkward. So I want to clamp her down right there. And it doesn't seem to take much. You only need a little bit. You just pull some downward pressure on and then you can lift this up. Remove the don't die warnings here. So then we can take this nut and try to hold everything still, which this threads onto. This is another thing. So this pipe threads on. I'm probably going to end up welding it because non-stop it wants to unthread itself, which is proving to be quite the pain. But so pull this up. Okay. So there's the retaining nut. We're going to take that off. We're going to set it over here. And then we're going to remove this whole assembly so we can put the Bilstein in. So we're just going to... Oh, sorry. I don't want to do that yet. I'll pull that off too. Now we can release the spring tension. Just like so. Slide that out. Oh, remember which way is bottom. Yellow tag's towards the bottom. And we're going to pull this up. We're going to reuse the top part of this. I'm going to cut off the rest of the cover. It's just not going to do us much good anyway. Okay, so we're not using this. We'll put this over here. Now, we're going to go assemble the shock. So the C-clip on this truck anyway, if you wanted to move it up to the second section, that's like a 1-inch lift. This would be a 2-inch lift up top. We're staying stock. Also to note, we need to pay attention to how we assemble this. So keep in mind how you mount this. I'll explain in a minute. All right, so first we're gonna put this ring on after you put the C-clip where you want. Bevel side goes up from what I understand reading the instructions. I'm glad I read the instructions because on the other side I actually didn't put this on until after. It was too late. I had to do it twice. Ooh, that's a tight fit. The other side, it just slid right on. So that goes on first, and then your shock tower mount, whatever. After that goes on, you put this guy on. And if you can't slide it by hand, I use a rubber mallet so I don't mess up anything on the shaft, or rod, whatever you want to call it. After that goes on, it wanted this rubber bushing here. And then it wanted this chrome bushing on top of that. And then it wants you to take your stock bump stop, which I don't have a stock one because I'm not anyway. So I'm just gonna cut this one off. You could put this whole thing on and set it like that. I don't like that, so I'm going to cut this top section off. Be right back. Okay, so then I want to slide this guy on. It's a little bit bigger than stuff, but that's fine. It's not gonna hurt nothing. All right, small side was on the bottom, so now we're gonna put this on. And we're gonna set it in place where it's gotta be. Now, here's the fun part. You have to know, you should have paid attention before you pulled this out, and I didn't warn you, so sorry. But the bolt pattern on this is different. So you got two close together and one far away. You need to know how that orientates on your old setup. I should have explained that, my bad, whatever. So if I look at this one, what you're looking at is the way that bottom bolt goes in. That bolt's gonna go this way, it has to line up. So you want your two short ones to match. On this particular vehicle, the two short ones kind of straddle straight in length. I'm saying short, I mean close together. These ones kind of straddle it this way, so they're like this. So we need to make sure this ends up in the same direction. These are my two that are close together. You know your top hat has to line up only one way, your isolator, because this goes to the end of the spring. So I want to put that on, and then I'm going to do my best to line up this like so. So the one that's far away should be straight in line. If this goes this way, the one straight in line should be dead center, and these two will fall into place there. So now as long as everything stays there, we're good. Keyword, as long as everything stays there. Key phrase. So now, I'm gonna do that. I'm gonna kind of compress this down, try not to stare above it. In case that happens, perfect example. Okay. Do that, we're gonna make sure we're still lined up. Lapse it a little bit more. One or two clicks at a time, and I'm trying to get this to a point where we can thread that nut on. Almost. Like one more click maybe. One more click, just for safety. There we go. All right, so now we can get the nut right here. I'm gonna just start threading it on. And the instructions on the Bilstein say to tighten this to 19 foot-pounds. So I'm just gonna start going. Okay, right there, 19 foot-pounds. Hear that? And that's threaded down a good, almost a fingernail length. So now we should be free to release the tension on the spring. Do that. I'll pop right off. I will link this whole contraption down below, by the way. Like I don't like it, but it works. So I think it could be better, but it works. There we go. There is the Bilstein setup. All right, now if I look in my top hat place, I see one bolt straight back, and then the two that are closer together are up front. So keeping that in mind, we're gonna try and slide this in such a way that that works out. Okay. Once you get it up, get at least one of the top hat bolts in, just so it doesn't fall out and smoosh your toes. And then down here, we're gonna have to do a little wiggle or use your pry bar, and that's why I had to take this off on the other side, because I just couldn't get in there. So we're gonna try and push this in place. I'm gonna use my rubber mallet, keyword rubber. Beat that into place. And then if you can fit it in the hole, you're perfect. You might have to do some bouncing and wiggling, or again, your pry bar. Oh. There she goes. I'm gonna put my nut on. I'm a guy that likes using anti-seize, so I'm going to put some anti-seize in there on the threads. I want to have the same impact and the wrench I used earlier. We're just going to suck her in. And that's going to be whatever torque spec is factory. I'll try to post it below. We all know how I work though. That's how it goes. Alright, we're going to get the other two top hat bolts in here. Nuts, whatever. There's 1 and 2, so that's 3 total. The good news is you can thread these on by hand for the most part. And I don't know what the factory torque spec is on these either, but we're going to go until it feels good, whatever that equates to. But I will link it below. It's probably like 22 foot-pounds or something, I'm going to guess. That's a guess. I'll try to look it up and post it on the screen below me right now, but my guess is 22 foot-pounds. Which, if I was to guess again, would be right there. So the shock is essentially in. We are good there. And I want to go ahead and put this back. Grab your castle nut first. Oh. Oh. Always the hardest part of the whole job right here. Get some wiggle. It's hard to get a couple threads. Once you get a couple threads, relax, you're good. I'm gonna grab my 21mm socket. I'm just gonna tighten this up. Okay, we're gonna tighten it till it feels good, and then we're gonna keep going until we can find the hole, which is right there actually. So we're gonna twist this over, and we're gonna get our tie rod up. And we're gonna wish we'd grabbed our nut. Okay. Again, you're going to go till it gets taut, and then you're going to go till you have a hole to put your cotter pin through, which for me is going to be right there. Now this is what I like about these cotter pins, is you just stick them in and boop, pop it in, it's done. Same one down here. Just make sure you're in the groove. Oh, that one's a little tighter. But there it is. Boom! Alright, once I get 2 threaded in as much as I can by hand, 140 pounds. That's it. Alright guys, it is as easy as that to replace your front shocks or quick strut assemblies, your shocks and springs, whatever you're doing, even if you're tearing it apart. This tool right here makes life easy. I will link it down below. Again, it could be better, it could be a lot better, but it works really good as far as in comparison to the single stupid all thread strut compressor crap that we all know and love so much. So it works way better than that. So I highly recommend it if you're going to do just your shocks and you're going to disassemble your quick struts, or just buy quick struts, throw them in, and save a good 15 minutes on extra work there. Either way, I will link all the parts and tools down below in the video description, as well as the top pinned comment. Stay tuned, I got lots more videos coming on this truck. We got quite a few already. We did the engine replacement, we did the front wheel hubs and 4x4 actuators. Then oil changes. We're about to do a transmission fluid change. Now we've done the front quick struts. There are broken springs in the rear. Both leaf packs have the middle spring broken. So we've got new springs coming on the way. I also have Bilstein shocks for the rear. So that video will be coming. There's tons of videos, guys. Check them out. Stay tuned. Leave a comment. Let me know what you think of the video. And yeah, I'm going to leave you with that. So thanks for watching. Click on the Amazon links down below. I make money if you buy stuff after clicking on them. Donate if you'd also like to keep these projects going. And there's just links for that as well. Either way, thanks for watching. Keep tuned. We'll see you later.